I sing and dance, and I feel happy when I help people. When I bring people from sadness and depression to inspiration and enthusiasm. I do this through life coaching. So life coaching, in life coaching you listen to people, you ask them some questions, then you also can help them to get a different perspective on their life. They can see it in one way, but you can help them to see it in a different way. And also when people understand their original nature, their original identity, then they understand that there is no need to be unhappy. You can be happy, you can choose to be happy. And you have so many tools how you can be happy. Not alcohol, not drugs, but you can be happy by the spiritual sound, by chanting mantras, spiritual songs, by dancing, by associating with people who are pure, who are good-hearted, who like to help others. Our original nature is that we like to serve, and if we don't serve, we cannot be happy. People think they can be happy by selfishness, but actually nobody becomes happy by selfishness. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that our original nature is called Sanatana Dharma. And Sanatana Dharma means our original characteristic. So our original characteristic is that we like to serve with love. This is our nature. Like sugar is salty, sugar is sweet, salt is salty, water is transparent, and similarly our main quality is service. And service means doing something for others. Doing something for others to help them, to make them happy, to help them with their needs. And on the spiritual platform, service also is related to God. Serving God and serving everybody else means serving God's children, which are our original brothers and sisters. So it's impossible to be happy if you're selfish. That's the opposite of what people are trying to do. They try to be happy by putting themselves in the center, but it doesn't work. We tried this many times. It doesn't work. If you become selfless, then you can become happy. Depression actually comes from the inner dialogue. It can be, the reason for depression may be past traumas, it may be past bad experiences, somebody hurt us, somebody insult us. But actually the way we talk to ourselves about this is the cause of the bad feeling. So the bad feeling comes from this inner dialogue where you talk to yourself, oh, I'm bad or they're bad, or you criticize others, you criticize yourself. But you are more powerful than this tape in the mind. You can take charge of this tape in the mind and you can choose to think differently. You can choose to think the thoughts that help your success, that help your happiness. Also, inability to forgive is a great cause of unhappiness, but people don't understand that forgiveness is for them. It's good for them, because if you don't forgive, you have poison in your heart. But if you forgive, you are free. And it doesn't mean that somebody who has done something wrong shouldn't be punished or you shouldn't protect yourself. You do that, but inside you don't hold it. You don't hate. You don't... Why? Because you understand that every cause has its effect. That by the law of karma, or by the law of action and reaction, you always get what you deserve. It's not an accident that you get something, some pain, that if you get some pain, it means that you have inflicted pain, you have caused pain of another person in your past life or in this life, and now you are getting a reaction. The law of nature never makes a mistake. There is no injustice. So it's very difficult to understand for people, but if you just understand the law of action and reaction, then you can understand that for whatever I get, I have done something in the past. Understanding that what you get you deserve can help you to forgive. The person who hurt you is instrument of your karma, so you don't take it personally. If you have this understanding, then it's not difficult to forgive. You know that, if I have to get something, I will get it from him or from her or from somebody, because I have done the same thing in the past. So you take responsibility for this. This is what we are learning from the wise people, from all religions. All religions, they say the same thing. They say we are responsible for our actions, and we are responsible for our reactions. And in all the holy scriptures around the world, all the sages and priests and brahmanas, they all advise that we should forgive, because they understand the law of nature. When we understand this and when we take responsibility, then we know that we can replace fear in our heart with love. We are not afraid anymore. We are not even afraid to suffer, because there is so much love in your heart that you are ready for anything. And if you love the whole, you can love the parts. So if you love God, you can love His children very easily and unconditionally. And I believe that one challenge that life is giving us, or God is giving us, is to love unconditionally. What does it mean? To love without expecting anything in return. To give unconditionally. Actually, the fear starts with the thought that something might happen. But if you can take charge of the thought and don't believe every thought that is fearful, then you don't have to get afraid. If the mind says, oh, this can happen, and then I say, well, maybe, but maybe not. And if this happens, I am ready. And then there is no fear. Negative inner dialogue. That's the most frequent problem. Everybody has some kind of a tape which says, you are not good, this is impossible, they are not good. Then also there is a lot of fear in the mind. So these kind of things, and these things prevent action, positive action. But when you start doing positive action, then you develop a better feeling, and you develop confidence. People say, I have no confidence, self-confidence. So how to develop self-confidence? You develop self-confidence by action. You just do it. And then you will see that you can do this. But it's difficult to have self-confidence if you don't have confidence in some higher power or in some higher being. Because we are small, we need protection, we need source of strength, and if we are connected to the source of strength, so for some people they say it's God, then you feel strong. You feel strong. And you are not afraid, because you are not alone. And this is why it's important that we support other people, because they feel that somebody is behind me. So behind every successful person, there is people who support them. Their friends, their family, their coaches, their trainers, their teachers. So we need to support each other, then we will have more confidence. Loneliness comes from ignorance. We are never alone. In the ancient Vedic scriptures of India, it says that God is always with us in our heart. The super soul, sometimes experienced as conscience, and that we can feel His presence. But if we are in a lonely place, we are still not alone. There is trees, there is insects, there is so many living entities. Okay, we miss humans sometimes, but if we like to serve, we will never be alone, because there will be always somebody whom we can help. And for example, in my life, most of the time I'm alone, but I never feel lonely, because I'm always thinking, what is my next service to somebody? Or I contact them on the internet, and on the internet we can communicate, or maybe agree for a meeting. And then you have programs where you're not alone, you're with other people. But to me, one of the most valuable moments in life when I meet people one-to-one, and then we can share, we can speak openly about our life's challenges and inspirations. And if you always think how to serve others, you will never be lonely. But if you put yourself in the center and start to feel self-pity, feel sorry for yourself, then you can feel lonely. That nobody's noticing me, I'm not in the center. Sometimes people who are in the center, big celebrities, big pop musicians or artists, they have so much attention from thousands of people and they feel lonely. Because there is no real human connection, it's artificial when, you know, people glorify them and they are not God. So, I think the key to loneliness is service attitude. Then you will never be lonely. It's difficult to think positively if you don't think spiritually. Because what can we be positive about? We're gonna die. How can I be positive? But if I understand that I'm an eternal soul, and that there is a supreme soul, and that we are connected, then there is a lot of hope. And I can then plan my life forever. You know, I have a plan which is never ending, for life, for service, for love. And then you can be positive. Otherwise, positive thinking is just an illusion. What can you be positive? You are dying. Every moment you are dying. How can you be positive? You can only be depressed. If your consciousness is material and you identify with the body, you cannot be positive. It's just an illusion. But if you understand I'm an eternal spirit soul and I have an eternal activity which is exciting, I'm eternally connected to the Supreme, then you can be unlimitedly positive. First I read the Gita, which was not Prabhupada's Gita, it was some other translation, and I read it in the library in my hometown in South Serbia, and I had an amazing experience. I felt so much peace that when I read this book, I felt some kind of enlightenment, some peace, and I was thinking, what is this book? I didn't even understand half of it. And then again this book comes to my life. This was in Serbian language. Then again this book comes to my life in English language. Penguin is a big publishing company, so they published small Gita, and I carried it everywhere with me. I was hitchhiking, so I carried it everywhere with me and read a little bit, and there was a picture of Krishna, a statue of Krishna there, and somehow I felt, oh, I have to have this book with me. This was the only book in my bag. And then my brother brought Ishopanishad and King of Knowledge. He went at the book fair in Belgrade and he brought these two books. And then I opened the books and I see, wow, they are quoting Gita so much, Bhagavad Gita, but it's a different translation. So I say, I have to get this translation. And then I ordered, they sent me from England, English Bhagavad Gita, and I saw, wow, there is another Bhagavad Gita translation, maybe better. And I started reading, but I didn't understand very much, but I was very attracted. So I saw that there is an address on the book, and then I wrote to them, then they started writing me personally. And at the same time, one friend gave me a record from George Harrison, which had Hare Krishna mantra. At that time, it was at the top 10 in the UK, in England, as a hit. And it was amazing music. I have never heard such music before. So, and then also, at the same time, one friend gave me a record. He said, my sister got this in London from somebody on the street, and we don't listen to it. If you like a little bit Indian music, and I heard you're interested in some spirituality, you can have it for some time. And this was a record of devotees. And also, I have never heard such music before. There was kirtan, there was few songs. It's like, sounded like music from heaven. Something super, super beautiful. But I didn't know that music and this book are connected. I didn't know that. That I found out later. And then I started chanting, meditation, but I didn't know how to meditate. Actually, also devotees sent me these chanting beads. I didn't know how to meditate because I thought that you have to sing on each bead, not recite. And then it took me very long. You sing on every mantra, so 110 times singing, it's one round, that's a lot of time. And then they sent me a tape of Srila Prabhupada chanting, and I saw, oh, chanting means reciting, not singing. And I started chanting at home and going around the city, in the hills, in the nature, chanting whole day. Then in the evening I look at the mirror and I see my eyes are shining and I feel some strange energy but very pleasant. And I was thinking, wow, what is this? And then I decided to visit the temple. My first temple was Villa Vrindavan near Florence in Italy. I hitchhiked from my hometown, and I had the best hitchhike ride in my life. 3 cars, they don't ask me anything, I could sleep. They, down the hill, they let me, this road to Siena, they let me out. I walk 1 kilometer here and come here, and I visited for the first time. So this is how I got in touch. So I went to Vienna. It was December 82. And there was a group of devotees who were translating Prabhupada's books into my language. It was called Eastern BBT. And they said, do you speak English? Could you translate? I said, of course. I was studying English and I was learning from the records and from the books, and I was always practicing English since I was 12 years old. And they engaged me in translation. So I started translating. But they lived not in the temple but in one house outside the Vienna. And I felt a little bit claustrophobic. That we are only in the house, we are incognito, we are afraid when we go out, we have to cover your head, and I didn't feel good there. So then I told one devotee who was writing me letters before that I will leave, I will go home. And she said, no, stay, because our guru is coming in a few days, so stay a few more days to see him, and maybe you can also talk to him. And he came, my former spiritual master, And he was amazing. He sat on this Vyasa-san, and he was shining. And there was like 100 devotees there. It was marathon, Prabhupada marathon, book distribution marathon. And I thought, wow, who is this? And I wanted to speak to him. They say you can speak to him, but it wasn't possible. After the class he left. And I wanted to ask him two questions. How can my girlfriend become a devotee? Because I wanted a benefit for her, but I myself wasn't a devotee, but I wanted that she becomes a devotee. So I was too shy to ask this question about the girlfriend. But second question is, how can I avoid army? And then he said, distribute books. Distribute Prabhupada's books. And I was thinking, what kind of answer is this? This will not help me. So in the meantime I joined, I got a little fat, I distributed books, I helped book distribution, I helped preaching, I washed the pots, cleaned the temple, even cooked, which is a big thing. And after 3 years, again they invited me for the draft, and they freed me from the army. They said, you are not fit for the army. So somehow it worked. But when I said this to my guru, he was just smiling. He didn't say anything. I learned that I am an eternal spirit soul, and that I am an eternal servant of God, and that happiness is in serving God and serving others, and loving God and loving others. I learned that you are not the slave of your mind. This is maybe the greatest lesson, that you can control your mind, and you can choose what you think, you can choose what you feel, and you can choose what you desire. And that we have a choice to choose spiritual desires, spiritual thoughts, spiritual feelings, and material. And that if we choose material, we will suffer, and if we choose spiritual, this is our real nature, we will be happy. Karma is the law of nature, or law of God, and it says that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if you hurt someone, you will be hurt. If you insult someone, you will be insulted. If you bring suffering to someone, you will get suffering for this. And it never fails. It's always very precise. So whatever we get, we can be sure that we have done something in the past. And we deserve it. So therefore there is no injustice. Injustice is an illusion. Now, if you look only at one lifetime, you can see maybe there is injustice. And of course we have to protect people. We have to protect ourselves within this one lifetime. But on the wider plane, or on the plane of eternality, on the plane of our many lives that we are living, there is always cause and there is effect. Sometimes the cause is in the past life and the effect is in this life. Sometimes the cause is in this life and the effect is in this life. Sometimes the cause is in this life and the effect is in the next life. So this is always very precise. It doesn't have like partiality. Like I like this one, I don't give him bad karma. No, law of nature is neutral. And if we understand this, then it's easier to forgive, it's easier to understand, that it's easier to take responsibility, it's easier to not blame anyone. And our mind is our worst enemy. There is no other enemies. And if we understand that, then we can choose to be happy. And how this manifests is negative inner dialogue. how you talk to yourself. You practice spiritual thoughts, spiritual feelings, spiritual desires. Actually, it's not practice, it's you awaken your original spiritual thoughts, spiritual feelings and spiritual desires. And when your mind is full of spiritual content, then naturally it's happy, it's friendly, it gives you good suggestions, it tells you things that are good for you. And until this happens, you have to observe what is mind saying and always discriminate what is good for me and what is not good for me, and choose what is good for you. And also you can ask your mind to cooperate and to help you to achieve success in this lifetime. The mind is like a person who is telling you always something. So you can try to train the mind by dealing with the mind as a person. And tell the mind, please help, please cooperate. Don't give me these stupid suggestions. It comes from the Vedic scriptures, the understanding. But many people on this planet, even who don't know about Vedic scriptures, understand that there is action and reaction. The law of physics is action and reaction. Isaac Newton. So people understand this, but actually they don't understand. Because if they would understand, then they would easily forgive, they would take responsibility, they would choose to do favorable things. So they don't understand. They think they understand law of karma, but they don't understand. Even people who practice spiritual life, I have met many people who practice spiritual life and who know this, who hear this practically every day, in seminars, in classes, reading books. They don't understand when there is a question of their life where they have to apply this understanding and, for example, forgive. They don't do this. They cannot do this. They don't understand the cause and effect. Every day we see this. When some people suffer, some people get happiness. Some people get distress. So you can look at the newspapers, look on the internet, you can speak to your friends. The law of karma is manifest every single day as happiness and distress, happiness and suffering. But for one who has started practicing spiritual life, it is said in the scriptures that God reduces your karma, so you get less than you deserve. This is the advantage of practicing spiritual life, chanting the names of God, reading the spiritual books like Bhagavad Gita, associating with spiritual people, with devotees or other spiritual people. And in this way you get protected from your own reactions, from your own karma. Because you have decided to become a better person, to become a spiritual person, to connect with the higher levels of existence, with the divine, with God, and you get support and protection. It's natural. You can have bad karma, but it will not affect your life if you take up spiritual life. It can influence. Some people have very bad karma. They try to start spiritual life, they have so many obstacles. In the past maybe they did some offenses. But once you decide to be serious, nothing can stop you. And God helps you. So there is no obstacles. If you choose the right path, there is no obstacles. Only internal obstacles. Externally, these obstacles are insignificant. We can get completely free from karma, but in this life, we are not completely free. We are free to some extent, and we still have the body. That's the symptom of karma, material body. And it's good because then we can stay here and help others. We help others. God wants us to help others, not only for ourselves have benefit, but help others to get the same benefit. So, if a spiritual person has some remnants of karma, they don't complain and they use it to do service. And when you get completely free from karma, then you are free from the material existence, from the material world. I feel happy, but my happiness comes from gratitude. This is the main foundation for my happiness, because I'm so grateful to get this knowledge and to get some realization by practicing this ancient knowledge about self-realization and God realization. And I believe anybody can be happy instantaneously, right now, if they become grateful. So if you want to be happy, try to be grateful. This is the great secret of happiness. And there is so many persons we can be grateful to, including God, but also people around us. We can be grateful for good things, but we can also be grateful for bad experiences which make us more serious about self-realization. For pain. Pain makes us more serious. Pain is the greatest guru. So, regarding my plans for the future, definitely I am in the phase where I am becoming a student. Now, people consider me a teacher. I am teaching for 30 years, but actually I'm finally becoming a student of how to help people. And I have got some books recently where I'm learning how to help people by listening better, by facilitating their own thinking. People need space to think, people need space to feel, people need space to cry sometimes, and somebody should be with them at that point. This helps. And so far I have helped people by listening and by telling them certain things, giving them hope or new perspective, but I want to learn how to facilitate their thinking even better, where they will find their own way, they will find their own solutions, they will find their own answers. Now you may say, maybe you want to ask me, how can people who are in ignorance find their own answers? Isn't that a good question? This is a good question, but actually in everyone's heart there is higher intelligence. We call it Supersoul or Paramatma. And Supersoul gives a limited intelligence if you can listen to the Supersoul and not listen to the mind. So if we connect and we help people connect to that higher intelligence, then even somebody who looks ignorant, they can get better intelligence and better ideas for their success. Dance, Bhakta, dance. Dance, Bhakta, dance. Please, Lord Nityananda, give us another chance. Dance, Bhakta, dance. Dance, Bhakta, dance. Please, Lord Nityananda, give us another chance. Dance, Bhakta, dance. Dance, Bhakta, dance. Please, Lord Nityananda, give us another chance.